On December 14, 2019, a new journey began. The heavenly team was fully prepared. The earthly team was also organizing and returning to their positions. Jesus stood before the team. He was the commander of both the earthly team and the heavenly team.
Jesus wore golden armor. People in the earthly team also began to put on golden armor. The heavenly team was completely ready. Their armor was perfect.
On one side of the heavenly team, angels blew trumpets. They faced the southeast. It sounded like a warning and a call for the earthly team to gather. The road ahead looked familiar.
It seemed to be the same place again. The Black Sea, the rivers, the white bears, the deep valleys, the seagulls. Everything looked like the same place I had seen before. I was also in the team, or perhaps hidden within it. When I thought about my past experiences, and now this group was about to go through the same, a chill kind of ran down my spine. I looked at Jesus. Tears filled my eyes. I could not bear to let this group go through what I'd gone through, but I did not dare to plead with Jesus with my eye. I knew this was something they had to experience. Everything was in his hands. Jesus was the leader. He would always lead them and stay with them. But I still lowered my head and sobbed.
I looked up into his eyes. The sadness and the chill in my heart faded. Warmth.
Strength replaced them. His eyes were full of encouragement. Because of this encouragement, my worry for the group slowly disappeared. Faith and strength filled my heart. In his eyes, there was faith, strength, and love for this group. The unpleasant feeling almost vanished. My heart began to rejoice. Jesus looked at me and smiled. Jesus said, "Child, let us watch over them together." Although he stood before the procession in armor, it felt as if he spoke from my left side, as if he were standing beside me. I rested my head on his shoulder and silently accepted his invitation. He said, "My son, this is from me. Do not doubt. They need to experience this. I have led you. I have stayed with you. I have encouraged you. I have never abandoned you." On December 17, 2019, I found myself again at the edge of the deep valley. Jesus and I stood there. So many seagulls circled above the area in front of us. They were white and sharp-eyed waterbirds. The valley was lifeless. The shore was desolate. The opposite bank looked very far away. The deep valley created a strong visual illusion. The opposite bank might have been zoomed out to show the depth of the valley. The sun and the mountains were still in the same place, but the sunlight looked like reddish. The angle of the sun had not changed, but it seemed lower. It felt like early morning. The sun had just risen. The whole area was covered in the glow of dawn. Although the opposite bank looked far away, it felt closer than before. It felt closer than the scenes of crossing the Black Sea, meeting the polar bears, and swimming just upstream against the glacier. I felt as if I were wearing silver armor, perhaps because I had circled in the pit area and prepared to attack the seagulls. They seemed wary of me. This might have been why Jesus rebuked me, but I did not realize the seriousness of the consequences. I thought of Moses striking the rock a second time. I thought of the mistake of disobeying the Lord's words. I thought of losing the mission and failing to lead the people into Canaan. When I remembered this, I understood the gravity of my mistake. I looked helplessly at Jesus. I realized the consequences of my mistake. I might lose my mission. I might give up halfway. I might fail. Jesus, after his long, so term, nurturing. I felt helpless. I looked up at the temple in the clouds of the northern sky. Heaven was still watching. There was a throne. There were angels and saints. I looked toward the throne and prayed in my heart. Jesus also looked toward the throne. His eyes were filled with supplication. I felt even more regret and remorse. The angels and saints also looked toward the throne. Their eyes did not show clear supplication, but they were waiting. They were waiting for the Father. On December 19, 2019, I saw myself and Jesus sitting on the grass by the pit. We faced the deep valley. Jesus sat on my left. His expression was serious and cold. I faced him and looked at him. He did not turn his head. His serious gaze stayed fixed on the deep valley to the east. The sun and the mountains were far away.
I looked at him and thought, his serious expression was because of my lack of vigilance. He had reminded me many times to stay alert. I lowered my head. I did not know what to do.
I felt helpless and wanted to cry, but Jesus appeared behind me, standing on my right. I did not turn my head, but I felt a warm and intimate presence. I turned to my right and looked at him. But the Jesus on my left still sat motionless, like a sculpture. When I thought of statues and idols, fear and confusion filled my heart. I quickly stood up. I stood to the left of Jesus, still uneasy. The statue did not move. I felt confused and helpless. I looked at Jesus and prayed silently with my eyes. He touched my head with his left hand to comfort me. He turned to face me and embraced me. He said, "My son, it is I. Do not be afraid. It is I, my dear child. I am always embracing you." As he held me, I seemed to feel the nail marks on his hands and body. I felt that it truly was him. I wept silently in his arms. I cried because of the fear and panic I had felt toward the statue. Jesus held me and gently stroked my back with his right hand. He continued to comfort me. He said, "My son, do not be afraid. I have always been here. It is I." At that moment, many white seagulls appeared in the deep valley. They seemed allowed to stay only in the valley or above it. They could not fly to either side. That was the boundary. My emotions calmed down. The statue, still seated, flew into the flock of seagulls. The seagulls longed for the statue. They surrounded it. They worshipped it. They cheered. They looked at it with great reverence. When I saw the seagulls circling the statue, with joy and reverence, I wept. From the first time I saw seagulls, I had always viewed them as enemies. I had been hostile and wary. Jesus seemed saddened too. He also wept. I remembered the time when I was among the seagulls. My resentment had led me to attack them. I bowed my head in remorse. And he looked at me, but he no longer rebuked me. Everything today seemed to be teaching me. It helped me understand my past mistakes. I looked at Jesus with gratitude. The scene in the northwest heavens appeared again. Heaven was still watching the earth. I knew that my Father had forgiven my past mistakes. I bowed my head and knelt down